Clinton. I love you very much, and we're going to get into our mutual love we have for each other. But I don't know how I went
Mm.
this long and didn't know about your illustrious acting career that you clearly never talk about.
Hmm.
And I was like, I was shocked. I was like, what? How do I not know this about Clinton when he's hilarious black guy on a relatively successful sitcom? Would you call it?
yeah, well, depends on where you were looking at it from, because like where we did it in LA, we were never a big hit. We were a darling. The network loved the show, the studio loved the show, everybody who worked on the show loved the show. That's top to bottom. All the PAs and all of that, and the guest actors and stuff. Everybody loved the show. Uh, this wasn't a big hit in LA, but in New York, where it was based out of, set in, you know what I mean? We shot it in LA, it was based in New York. Big hit. Big hit, Matt. I'll never forget when I went to do some promo in New York, and everywhere I went, I got recognized. It was weird. It was just like, whoa, because they did say, "Oh no, this show is number one out here." Like,
But it ran for 3 seasons, right?
two,
Okay, all right.
two. Mhm.
So we're gonna back up. We're gonna get there. Um, uh, but I really sorry, I lost my train of thought for a second.
It's
Let's
all right.
start with the let's start at the beginning, Clinton.
Okay.
When when did you first hear a comedy album or see somebody on TV that you were like, holy shit, that's fucking amazing, and I think that might be for me?
If I really put the timeline to it, I would have to say Bugs Bunny.
It's awesome.
It really is, man. I mean, I'm not kidding you, Matt. I used to watch Bugs Bunny and it made me feel so good. I was so in love with him. He made me laugh. He made me just feel like I had a friend, and I just loved his way of cracking wise through life, and that was it. I said, you know what? I like this. And then from there on it went to like sitcoms and stuff like that, and then into comedy records. But yeah, Bugs Bunny, man, was actually I'm not kidding. Bugs Bunny was like my first influence and first person character, whatever, that I wanted to be like.
Yeah, so my parents had Bill Cosby records.
Hmm.
I want to say R.I.P. Cosby, even though he's not dead, or is he dead? Did we finally lose him?
I share that sentiment. That feels appropriate to say, strangely enough. R.I.P. But
Hey Siri, how old is Bill Cosby?
Bill Cosby is 87 years old.
He's still with us.
yeah. Hmm.
My parents had Bill Cosby Revenge, and I played that record over and over and over again.
Mm.
And I don't think I even got half the jokes, but it didn't matter. There was something about it. And then they had Bob Newhart. They had a couple of other ones that anybody younger than 30 listening to this have no fucking clue who they are, but I just remember there was something about it. And then Carlin for me was like, oh wow. Like watching those early HBO specials, and then I got it on tape. Occupation Fool, I got on tape, and I just thought this is like magical. This guy is
yeah.
thinking about the world in a way that's making me think and making me laugh. And
Yeah.
nobody else could do that. Again, people have to understand you weren't bombarded with content. There were 3 fucking channels on the
Yeah.
television.
Yeah. Seriously. Yeah. And then when you came across something like that just pulled you out of the everyday into the mind of an individual who had a lot to say and who just kind of showed you life, all the things that you were familiar with, but in a new way, a way that was like, oh man, life is more entertaining than I thought, you know, because I'm hearing it through this person's through this person's filter with their color on it. So it's a beautiful thing when it happens, man.
So what town did you grow up in?
Oakland, California.
You've always been Oakland, always been Oak Town.
Yep, straight up and down. And then
Um,
yeah.
do you know a young fellow named Tupac Shakur? Do you know that fellow? Did you grow up with him?
No, I had never met the man. I had not met the man. I met Too Short though. I remember one time early on when I was
Oakland
doing
legend, Too
comedy.
Short.
Yeah, I remember when that dude used to be on the bus selling his tapes. He would just ride the bus. Hey, yo, got that short dog, man. Got that short dog. That's pretty good Too Short too, if you've seen it. And we used to just see that dude around, and you hear people bumping it. He was Oakland famous, man. So it was a big deal when I was doing a stand up show in Oakland one time, and he was there, and and then I got done, and he came up, and he's like, "Hey, you pretty funny, dog." And I was like, "You are here, man." But yeah, no Tupac, but yeah, me and Too Short, yeah, we
What about Digital Underground?
familiar with him. Never saw him in person. You know, mm-mm, mm-mm, no.
What about Oaktown 357?
357, straight at you. 357 perpetrators, you're through. No, not familiar.
Nobody
Uh,
listening has any idea who these people are. These are references I'm making just for you and me.
I know this is just our thing, Matt, which is fine with me because you're all I need, really, ever, anytime we're together. You know that. Um, oh, I remember when MC Hammer opened for the Fat Boys.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, at the venue there in Oakland that I cannot think of the name of right now. But and I remember like everybody was excited to see the Fat Boys and hear them talk about food and being fat. And because that was it. When you name yourself the Fat Boys, you really do limit your repertoire. Um, so you know what I mean? They're not going to be talking about their shoes like Run DMC or apartheid or anything like that. It's all fat stuff.
But what if the Fat Boys were like big in the apartheid movement? What if like they decided we're not just gonna joke about being fat anymore? Free Mandela.
I'll take a scoop of free Mandela.
Do you remember when Crush Groove came out?
Yeah. I don't. I'm trying to think though. Did I actually see it? I remember when it came out.
If you watch it now, it's literally just a series of sketches essentially with all these rappers. It was like, let's put these people in a movie. None of them could act, right? A young Rick Rubin's in it. It's really bad. I tried to watch it like with my kids. It wasn't very fun. But let's back up. I want to know when you first got on stage. I want to know when you decided I'm going to do it.
Okay. Well, I barely got out of high school. No joke, Matt. I was a terrible student. I barely graduated from high school because I just was inattentive in school, and I just was never a good student. So I got out and I started doing a little junior college thing, which was just nothing to be able to say I was doing something. But I had been writing comedy, since I had gotten out of high school, and it was a few months or whatever it was. Uh, and I told my buddy that I wanted to do it. And he said, "Hey, you know who I know? I know Mark Curry, huh?
Okay.
Hanging with Mr. Cooper, Mark Curry.
Hang with Mr.
Again,
Cooper.
a cat that was really famous in Oakland. Everybody knew Mark Curry, and his shows just used to just murder the audience. And my buddy said, I know him. I know that man. And he was still working at Pan Save. Mark was such a down to earth guy, and I'm sure he still is. He was just like, he was very successful, but he was still a manager at Pan Save, the drugstore. And my buddy was like, let's go by Pan Save, and I'm going to introduce you to Mark Curry, this famous man, and see what he can tell you about doing comedy. And we went by there, and turns out he didn't really know my buddy. He was like, "Hey, Mark," when you're with this cat, right? He walks up to him, "Hey, Mark, it's me, Marcus," and he was like, "Who?"
Right.
"It's Marcus, man, it's me, Marcus." Well, anyway, this is my boy Clint right here, and he want to do comedy. All right. Well, I'm getting an open mic room going that I'm going to be working out at. So come by there on I think it was a Wednesday. And I said okay. And I went by there that Wednesday. I had some stuff written down, and I did it. And I got laughs on my first time out, Matt. People say that you'll bomb, but I got laughs on my first time on stage, and it was
Well,
fun, man.
what I found out is because I read, I forgot whose book, maybe it was Franklin Ajay's book or somebody that talks about a lot of people's first time, and even getting half the laughs, you can't believe it. You're like half of these jokes worked. I'm on to something. Like if you just
Yeah,
bomb the whole time, maybe you never get on again. But
yeah,
those few that worked, you're like, okay, my instincts were right. I've watched all this comedy. I think I know how to, write a joke. And like that's all that matters. And then you're off and
yeah,
running. That's what it was for me. I certainly didn't kill my first time, but just getting a couple of laughs made me feel like I was doing something right.
yeah. Yeah, it's directional. When you feel like you're moving in that direction, you go like, you know what? I get this. I'm taking a step. I feel something here. Where were you for your first time?
So I lived here in Atlanta, and I had been keeping a notebook because I worshipped comics. You have to understand, like my friends all said you should do stand up. I worshipped comedy. I watched every HBO special. I watched Half Hour Comedy Hour. I went to the Punchline. Like, I mean, I just lived comedy, but I was terrified, dude. I was like, I can't actually get up there. So I did my very first gig in Athens, Georgia, because my friend put a show together of musicians and comedians. He was like, "Hey, you're doing the show," and I thank him for my whole life because it eventually led to like even what you and I are doing right now. My friend Dave Henson, R.I.P., lost him a couple years ago at age
Mm,
50.
mm.
He said, "You're on it." So I wrote these jokes and I got the laughs. But then I moved back here and I tried to get up at the Punchline. There was like, you stand in, you're gonna really love this. You're gonna love this. Not, I haven't think I've told the story on here in a long time, so I think you're really gonna appreciate this. So you go and you wait outside and they draw your names or whatever, and you come back. They come back out. There's a Punchline in Atlanta, 1995, and
Yeah.
they're like, you didn't get picked. And so a guy says to me, "I'm going down to the Uptown Comedy Corner because it's a black room, but they put everybody up. You might go open 2 in the
Mm,
morning, but so
mm.
I fucking drove to Uptown Comedy Corner. Earthquake was the host of my first show, and
Wow.
I love that dude. He cracked me up so much because he would cap on open micers if they didn't come, not just flat out, but like somebody got mad at the audience and started talking shit, and so like he goes up there, takes the guy's mic, and is like, "You're never coming back." Like he was really, and then I just remember him saying, I forgot what this guy did, but he wasn't doing a very good job, and so he just came up and he goes, "Learn your craft." Y'all got to learn your craft. Like, don't come up here like a complete idiot. Anyway, so those are my first 3 times on stage. And I didn't get a lot of laughs in the black room, but I remember coming off and literally thinking, there is nothing harder than this. If I just got, like, they do this. Do you want to explain to people what that is?
Yeah, that's hey man, at least you alive when you here, but you might want to be somewhere else.
Yeah, they're clapping you off the stage
Yeah,
essentially. And that
yeah,
happened to me. And
yeah,
I remember my friends had come and they were like, "Are you devastated?" I'm like, "No, because I didn't die. Like physically, I didn't die. My worst
yeah.
fear happened. I bombed in a black room. And it's gonna be easy from here on." You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
It's like jumping off a 50-foot diving board. It's like, well, if I only have to jump off tens from now on, I'm good. You know what I'm saying? It really
Yeah.
shifted something in me. So anyway, then I moved to Boston in '96, and Boston's a great comedy scene and blah blah blah. But that's
Yeah.
that's kind of my origin thing. So I'm so glad I did that because, like, again, too stupid enough to know better. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I'm the only white dude. I didn't get up till 2 in the morning. Um, I might have got booed. I definitely got clapped off the stage, and they started
Yeah.
playing the music. But anyway, that was my start. So you do well your first time. This is all Oakland.
Yeah. This was in downtown Oakland, a place called Beckett's. It used to be Ivy's, and it used to be really popular with the in the nightlife kind of thing. And then, like I said, Mark Curry was in there because he wanted a place to work out, have just work out his stuff and be able to and host it and bring people up. And he was generous that way, like with other comics and everything. And yeah, he was a good dude. He was a. You know what else I liked about Mark Curry? Just a little side thing was that even as he rose through the ranks and as he got to be a big comic, if somebody, anybody, any open micer or whatever, first time doing comedy, never done comedy, if you had something that where you were like, hey, you know what might be funny, or you know what made me think of when you said this, he'd try it. He had no, like, he was never like too big to listen to somebody, which I always thought was a good trait to
Right.
have. To be like, he was like, oh, okay, and he would just go up and just try it. He would just throw it in there, and I think that was good for him as an artist, to be able to be open to things. And also, I think as you kind of foster, the thing that you like in somebody else, younger comics, being able for them to be like, oh wow, this guy listened to me. And I think it would help people's confidence too. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And,
Yeah.
and just as a human being to be able to be like, hey, we're all equal here. Um,
But see, that was to me, that was the big difference of in Boston or LA was in Boston, when I moved to Boston in 96, obviously we're competitive with each other, but there's only a couple hundred of us.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
sure.
maybe 100 that are working. And so it's kind of us against them, right? Like
Yeah,
we're all going to hop in a car, drive to this one night or whatever. And like, oh man, I bombed, or oh shit, I tried to bang this waitress, or like you're just in your little world together, right?
yeah,
And then you
yeah,
move to LA and you're like, oh shit, everybody's a stand-up comic, right? The girl who's just in an acting class, and
yeah,
you know and the most famous person is all trying to get stage time at the improv. And so it was a very, and then when I visited other towns, I felt the same way. So
yeah,
Seattle had a great scene, Oakland had a great scene, Houston had a great scene. Like they all, you if you go show up in those towns, like it was just like a great little scene, versus LA was like this whole thing. So for
yeah,
you, I'm guessing you started doing those one-nighters and whatnot, like San Francisco or down in Fresno or whatever. And was
yeah.
the goal like, okay, I think I've got to get on a sitcom? Because that was all of our dreams at one point. Or were you just like, I'm cool as just a comic? Like, what were your thoughts?
It was some of both. You think sitcom, because that's what, the brass ring was and stuff like that. But in my heart, in my soul, Matt, I just love doing comedy. I just love doing stand up. And the idea of a sitcom is nice, and I still feel this way. I mean, I like acting. I enjoy it. I, really do. But in my heart, there's just nothing like a live show. Just being, connecting to the people, and not even big live show. I honestly, again, Matt, I'm bearing my soul, buddy. I like intimate rooms and just being with who's ever there who's really into it. Because I think, for me, the thought of comedy being so big that it sort of veers into spectacle a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, oh, we can't believe we're going to see this guy. Oh, and I'm glad we're paying $200 or whatever it is because it's everybody wants it and it's big and it's flashy and it's like, all right, yeah, I get it. But for me personally, I just like doing shows and that are just more real than they are hyped up, or you know what I'm saying? Like that the big picture of success to me has a limited appeal. Whereas doing a show where we have a good time with the people who are there and it's genuine and it's simple, I that's just my first love always.
Well, and that makes sense considering, kind of what you do out in the Tough Mudder world, where the audience just kind of happens to be there, right? You're
Yeah,
going to say what you say based on your observations. And, so maybe there's 5 people, maybe there's 100, but you know what I
yeah.
mean? Which is why you're perfectly suited for that.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. And I do feel at home there so much, and I love what it's about. And again, like going back to your original question, is the goal to stand? Is the goal the what do you call it? The sitcom and all of that. Again, it's very nice, But to me, it's also very nice. Even like on a Sunday morning, you know how it is. The attendance for the Sunday is smaller because it just is. And then those are some of the best times because this is like there's a few people around, but we're all laughing and enjoying it. And there's just it feels like no pressure, no hype. It's just the people who are there are there. We have our fun. We share our hearts, by people's effort. They're just putting their best out there on chorus and coming in, and just the excitement of the new people and our people who've been around. And we're just sharing some laughs and being human together. I mean, is that a big success? Is that a sitcom? Is that millions of people seeing you? Is that being famous? Is that a huge check? Yes, it is. No. No, but it's just as real as it gets. You know what I'm saying? So there's the part where you play to your ideal or the general idea of success, and then there's the part where you play to your reality, which is I have this time at hand right now. Forget about what else I'm trying to attain or strive towards or whatever else is out there. This is here right now. You know what I mean? And that's what I appreciate about Tough Mudder.
Yeah, well, I think, and we're going to obviously talk more about that, but that's why you, Sean, Tommy, who I see a lot now at High Rocks as well, is like, because there are guys that do that for the like, this is my gig for the day, and you could tell the difference, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you actually give a shit about people and give a shit
Mm-hmm.
about the people who are participating, it shows, and it makes it so much more enjoyable, and it's why I smile so much when I'm around you. But I do have to talk about we do got to talk about the Hollywood stuff, just because I just wanted to know this about you, because you and I, we hang out, it's a love fest, we crack each other up, we make jokes that are only mostly for us at 2 or 3 in the morning, right? At World Stuffest, it's the best.
Mm-hmm.
But when you did get Nick Freno licensed teacher, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Which is, like, when you get a show, you don't know it's what we don't like. The pilot might never get, but once it's on and it's happening, like, was there a moment of, aha, I have made it? Did you feel that at some point? And
Um,
I'm sure this is what the rest of my life is going to be now, being an amazing, hilarious television star.
that's a great question. Yes, and again, kind of going back to my framework, which is that I didn't feel like, yeah, I've made it forever and this is it, but I have a taste of this. I had been on sitcom before as a guest, so I had a taste of it then. But like the being a series regular,
Yeah, you're
where you're
driving
in every
in. Good
show.
morning, Mr. Jackson.
Oh
Right?
yeah.
They
Oh,
know who you are at the gate when you drive
yeah.
in.
Yeah, and you have your name on your parking space there, spray painted on your parking space. You know what I mean? I bought myself a new Acura,
Let's
to move
go.
down to LA. Yeah, to have a new car, and this first new car I ever had. I bought it myself, and you pull in and you see your name right there, C. Jackson. I was next to Stuart Pankin. He's an actor who's been around for a long
Oh,
time, and it
he's
was
a
funny.
classic that guy, Stuart Pankin.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And it was I always enjoyed the fact that we had our names on our parking spaces, and mine said C. Jackson, and it was next to Stewart's, who said S. Pankin, so it just said Spankin. Right? I
Right?
like that. Yeah, I'm a simple man. That made my morning. Every time I saw it, it never
I
didn't make
like
me giggle.
I like
Spankin.
I like butter in my ass, a lot of pops in my mouth. Do you know who said that?
No.
That's from Boogie Nights. Classic,
Um,
classic, classic line
mm,
from Boogie Nights.
you're a
I'm a
star.
simple man. I like butter in my ass and lollipops in my mouth. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry. So you're hanging out with
No,
Stuart
but yeah.
Pankin
So
from not
yeah.
necessarily the news. That was him, right?
Yeah. He was awesome, man. Nah, it was. He's still around. But yeah, on the show, he was awesome, and we worked together. And yeah, but I felt like, okay, I can do this. I started with no. I never like took any acting classes and that kind of stuff. I could just kind of do it, and not to say that it wouldn't have been better if I would have taken it, but I happened to. Land the gig and just be able to pull it off. Can I tell you a little bit about that? About how I landed the gig? What the
I would love to
audition
hear how you landed the gig
part
and
of
who
it?
you were up against. What other famous black gentlemen you were up against who may have gone on to bigger fame or less fame. I don't know.
Okay,
I
well,
don't
there's some
think it's getting
stuff
so
there.
dark in there. Is there an earthquake about to happen? What's going on?
I don't know. No, I guess it's just overcast, and I'm just. Let me see. Hold on a
I thought you were in
second.
the attic at first.
No, I'm in the bedroom. Like I told you, Matt, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know anything about any of this stuff. And
Well, you know that lighting is good, right? Natural light is the best. That's why I'm outside in my new gazebo.
Mhm. There we go. The Phantom of the Opera is there inside your mind.
Okay, so you go audition. Is there or
oh,
was there a series of black gentlemen that you were always up against? You're like, oh fuck,
oh yeah, there were
Tommy
some.
Davidson got me again.
Yeah, there was always that group of people, your Ralph Harris's and that, and and uh, actually, and I was replacing a gentleman on the show who had been cast in the pilot, and his name was Reggie Hayes. And he did the pilot. And show business is brutal, man. This guy had the gig. He was in there, and they decided, what are the powers that be? We're like, hey, Reggie, we can do better. And they gave him his walking papers, and they opened the roll up, and I went in, and I got it, and I'll get back to that in a moment. But it's the kind of thing that I'm thankful for, because I always kept it in my mind. When you think about slacking off, I think about Reggie Hayes. I mean, he had it, and he was in there, and so I had Hendrix riffs playing in my mind, and Reggie Hayes all in my brain. You think about slacking off, man. You think, boy, I don't want to go Reggie's route.
Right. So he either didn't bring it or pissed somebody off or who knows, right?
Yeah, or just wasn't a fit. I mean, because he's a fine guy, and that's the way. Television is just so weird like that. You don't know why. I remember I did a pilot one time. The star, I can't think of her name, but she was hot for a minute. She was in something. I didn't know her from that, but somebody, when I booked the pilot, somebody was like, "Oh yeah, she's from so and so. There, she was in this big show, and now she's doing this thing." And I got on the set, and I was just playing a bit part, but I was like, yeah, not much chemistry between these two stars. And I was there, for the whole time. The day before we shot the pilot, or the day before we shot the pilot, I came to work. I walked in. It was a new person, Matt. The star of the show was gone.
They
It was
replaced her.
her show. They brought it. It just wasn't working. The chemistry wasn't there between her and the British guy.
Was it
And
was
man,
it Valerie's Family?
no.
Do you remember that show?
Yeah, Valerie Harper.
Yeah, but then they replaced her. I feel like they replaced her,
Oh
and then
yeah,
and they still
yeah, that
called it
was a
Valerie's
thing, right?
Family because she wasn't there anymore. I don't remember.
Yeah, that was a thing. It was on par with that, because
So,
this girl.
but when you go in, okay, was it you read once, then you read with other actors or read for
Okay,
producers? Give us the breakdown.
okay, so back to that. Well, first things first on that. Mitch Mullaney, who was a wonderful comic, who was also from Oakland. We went to high school together. It was his show. He got cast in it. They wrote it from watching him, but he still had to audition and get cast. Again, that's
To
the way
be
show
Nick
business is.
Freno.
Yeah. And even though it was kind of, they wrote it with him in mind, he still had to get it. So we went to high school together, graduated at the same time and everything. And he had it. And so that was kind of a nice angle, you know what I mean? Going into it like, hey, this guy, they went to high school together. And here's a guy who's coming up through the auditions. And I passed the first, the second, whatever, and got down to the top 5 of people in consideration. And again, it was a nice angle that we actually went to high school together, and we knew each other from times before. And I just got the character. I like the character. Mez Crosby was my character, and I like playing stuff that's me. I don't ever try to be anything other than what I am, who I am. And so I connected with this character, and he was the best friend of the star, and it was just a nice role for me and Mitch. And here's a little thing. I'm going to tell you this: what happened. So I go into the audition. This is the final one where all the big wigs are in there, huge wigs, giant, just massive B-52 wigs. of the studios and the networks and all of that are in there. I had my audition and I worked on it and I found stuff that wasn't necessarily in there. You don't want to add too much in auditions because you want to pull it right off the page, but you want to find something that sets you apart. I found some nice little beats, and I got some little tricks and stuff that I do to kind of make my things my own. And I went in there and I did this audition. It's packed with people. It's very nerve wracking because I mean, huge wigs. And no toupees, Matt. They're
All
all
wigs.
big wigs. And I go in there and I did my audition and I was very confident with it and it killed. It was very funny. I got the laughs and everything. And then as I'm walking out, I stopped when I got right to the door and I just looked at all of those people in the room and I looked around and I said, thank you. Thank each and every one of you. I don't know what made me do that, Matt. But when I did it, they erupted. They erupted. I mean, the audition was funny and I was good and I did my
Right.
thing, but they just erupted. And I was like, wow, I'm funnier than I thought. What was that?
Right.
You know what I mean? And I walked out with them just clapping. Matt, the place went gorilla. Okay. I walked out and then the other actors heard him in there, the last couple of guys that were going to
Right.
go. So I think I went in the middle. And then I was just like, I don't know if you guys still want to go
Yeah,
ahead.
exactly. Yeah,
Right.
when you left the room, they go, that's our guy. That's our Mez.
And so can I tell you what I found out later? The guy before me who went in, I used to see him around. I don't know his name, but he did this thing where he did his audition and then he went around the room and he thanked everybody by name. He knew all of the people's names. So he did this impressive things with the studio and network people. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Gary. Thank you, Dana. Thank you, Diane. Thank you, Margaret. Thank you, Dad. Right. And he did that. And the head of the network was sitting there, Jordan Levine. And he missed Jordan. He missed Jordan,
Oh,
the
shit.
head of the network. Somehow, this guy with his little trick, with his little parlor trick with the names. And so when I said, so now you get it? So when I go,
Yeah.
thank you,
So,
thank
yeah.
each
And
and
everybody.
every one of you. Because I said it so deliberately,
I am going to.
because Jordan, because when he walks out, oh, I'm sorry, I left out a key thing. When he walks out, everybody kind of felt it and saw that it sort of happened. They were aware of it because they were aware of Jordan as a centerpiece there. And then Jordan kind of looks back and goes, well, he ain't getting it. So, right. So that killed in the room. So Jordan, Jordan, the head of the network, is in there killing, and then I walked in and I'm connected to him with my little, I didn't know. I had no
Right.
idea about
That's
this
just one of
at
those.
the
That's
time.
just some magic happening for you. That's how
It
it
was
goes
magic,
sometimes.
man. Because I stopped right at the door and I just turned my head.
So they don't even know that you're essentially like making fun of him, but in this way that's, dude, I'm
Yeah.
gonna start doing this. I'm gonna go get a coffee today after this, and I'm gonna do that. And it's gonna be my way of connecting to you, even though you're not there. I'm gonna say thank you to the barista, and then I'm gonna go thank each and every one of you. And I'm gonna walk out. People are gonna be like, who the fuck is that guy?
See, that I know, and I know you will, because that's part of the beauty, Matt. Because me
Yeah,
and
man.
you, we like that stuff. We like that little inside stuff that made something to us. Because I still every time I still do it in your honor and keeps us connected when the fold. Every time I say that out loud, man, that's my little visit with you. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
I don't listen. You people are gonna get bored of us loving on each other, but I don't know if anybody makes me laugh harder than you. Seriously, I mean, part of it is just because as I have told the story before, but I will tell it again. And again, this is one of those things that just ends up being kind of magical. Is we're making this documentary about World's Toughest, and Jeff, my partner, says I want to ask Clinton this question: how is World's Toughest Mudder like a woman? And I said, not only should we do that, but if I just keep asking him, he'll give us a different answer every time because Clinton's that funny. And it was, and it is, and then you end up kind of being a through line like through it because like as it goes on, you're like, there's give. or when you said 24 hours in a row outside. Anyway, nobody makes me laugh harder than you. Mostly just anything you say, but then specifically when we get those late World's Toughest Mudder hours and it's just us, and some of the stuff you say in the mic, some of the stuff is just us. But I wanna go over some of this career stuff a little bit, just because again, I don't know this about you.
Sure.
All the mutters that are listening to this probably don't know this about you. Um, but let's get to the end. Is it one of those situations where you don't find out you're canceled until they start the next season, or was it like as you were filming the last few? How did that painful cancellation story go?
Okay, so like I said, we were never a big show, but a darling show. The network, everybody loved it, and honestly, and I found this out, and there's Mitch is no longer with us to start the show, Mitch Mulaney, um, and he didn't want to do the show anymore. And because he came from working with the Wayans and stuff. He wanted an edgier career.
Right.
And we were doing a kid show. And so he kind of didn't want to do it anymore. And that sort of was a contributing factor to the show not going forward. Because even though it wasn't the greatest ratings, there was also that part of it where, the star of the show kind of wants to do other things. And you're already not huge, but people loved it, and they
Right.
did a lot of retooling to try to get it to go. And so we did the first season. Like I said, I did all except for the pilot. Did the second season, and they did all that they could. They brought in some great guest stars and stuff like that. And so we were hoping for that third season, and then that didn't happen. And here's the way television works: you never hear from them again. Nobody calls. There's no letter. There's no call. You
Just
just cease to exist in their world.
you just
You know,
heard somewhere, I guess we're not
yeah,
coming
you
back.
hear it in then when they announce what shows they're picking up. But I never got a call from anybody who said,
What about the racist frog? He didn't call you?
"Hello, my honey. Hello, my baby." No, I hate that frog. His dressing room was next to mine, and I could tell you
Come on though,
stories.
dude. Come on with that
I
fucking
could
frog.
tell you stories, Matt, about that frog. And I'm not saying that there was tadpoles involved, man. You didn't hear that from me. But
Nobody under 50 knows you're doing Sammy Davis Jr. right now.
I knew you
Of course I know. Um, but
were. I
come
knew
on,
you were,
dude.
man.
That was a bit, I mean, the racist frog, wasn't that a bit, were y'all kind of like, why this is a little silly?
It was a different time.
It
But
was
yeah,
it was a
nobody.
different time.
we joked about the frog a lot, about the frog being the boss and all of that.
Right.
But yeah, yeah, there was a lot of that chatter.
Okay, so it ends and you're not devastated. You're just like, okay, I'll try to get another gig and see what happens.
I wasn't mad. I was devastated. But in your mind, though, yeah, I was, because it was a lot of fun. It was a great experience. I'll never forget flying my mom down, bought her new luggage, brought her, got to see her baby boy on TV. And so it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of money. So yeah, when it goes away, and there's always a part of you that, because of how people treat you when you are on top, or at least in the game, you
Right.
think, oh, I'm gonna walk right on to the next one. They love me.
Sure.
They
Sure.
love me.
Sure.
And they even people said stuff like, hey, you're going right into something else. So, whatever. And so there's a part of you that believes it. So I see how young people in the business, or anybody, even a YouTuber, somebody, when you get a taste of it, you think it's always going to be there. And it can
It's
pivot.
not. Right.
It can pivot so fast. And you're just like, wait a minute. What? I'm not getting those Tiffany blue boxes sent to me anymore. The gifts. I'm not, getting the accolades and the people taking care of you, and when you're on TV, and so you can get anything. I mean, people, it was like, you know, when you would ask the people who work there, the studio people, the network people, hey, do you know anybody who does this or who has that or any connections over here? Yeah, let me make a call. Because you're their boy, you're the girl, and
Right.
they seem to care. Your agents, hey, sweetheart, baby, we love you. Just because
Right.
you're working, you're in there, you're on it. And the second you cool down, oh man, they don't know your name. It's harsh, but it's what it is.
Was
They,
there something um that you got, like, is there like a, man, I was this close? Is there a part or parts that you were just like, you were in the final three and then it went to fucking whoever one of the other Wayanses or whatever?
oh yeah, yeah. There's a lot of things that you slay, and you walk out, and you're already spending that money. uh, what's his name? Jason Alexander. He had a show post Seinfeld about a sports guy, or he's a sportscaster guy. And man, I'm not a sports guy, so I don't know. But it was based on a real life person. I do remember that. And I remember I went in there and I read for Marla Garland, who's Jeff Garland's wife. She's a casting director. And I
Okay.
went in there and I happened to have two scenes from it. And because somehow I got that second scene and it wasn't really a part of the audition. But I said, you know what? I'm going to work on it. I'm going to prepare it. I read that first scene, Matt, and I'm just telling you the story. I'm not trying to be immodest here. I blew the roof off with that first one, slayed it, and that's by their own evaluation. The producers were sitting, they were clapping, and they were like, "Oh man, that was so good! That was so good!" And I go, "You know what? There's another scene. Do we got that other scene? I'm sorry, we don't mean to put you on the spot, but it was just we got another thing. Can we just for fun? We just want to have you do it.
Right.
Just
Right.
no pressure, but just to keep the party going, man. Let's." And I had it. I had it. So I looked at it. They were like, "Let me have a few moments with it," and I had already done it. And I went in there, Matt, and it was game on, boy. Your boy just I mashed it. I just dove in on that thing. Boom, again, they were just like, "Oh man, that was so good." And then I walked out, I was done, and they were like, "Thank you, Clinton Jackson." And they're looking at the resume and flipping it over and going,
Right.
"I
Right.
can't believe we haven't seen you." Marla Garland, the casting director, walks me out, and we got outside the door, and she just grabbed me and hugged me, and she goes, "That was so good. Oh, that was fantastic." Wow.
And
Never
then,
heard from him again.
wow.
Never, never.
Wow.
But you know who got that part? Malcolm Jamal Warner went right
Re-
to him.
really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he doesn't have to read anymore. He's like,
Yeah.
NBC
Yeah.
legend.
Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of that where they want somebody who they have in mind, and you can't talk them out of it, no matter how good you are, no matter how good you
Yeah,
think.
and it's like I tell you, the best thing I ever heard. So I took a couple of acting lessons when I was in Boston doing stand up, and I remember the lady said, and she had done a couple of really small parts, but she was a cool lady, and she said, sometimes it's the best person for the job, sometimes it's the director's cousin, sometimes it's you. That's how to
Mm-hmm.
look at auditions. And
Yeah.
that's kind of how I look at life too, right? It's like it's almost never personal. And they might have had him already and they were just waiting in case he falls out. Let's find
Yeah.
someone else. Like you don't fucking know.
Yeah. You
But
don't. Yeah.
like when I see someone who's really bad, you'll hear me yelling at my television. I will say to Stacy, somebody owed that fucking person's agent a favor because this person
Mhm.
sucks. And
Yeah.
that's how it
Yeah.
works sometimes. That's life, right?
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like people complain about nepotism, and it's like, dude, don't you give your friends, give your kids like jobs and favors, and like that's how life
Yeah.
works. So like, you don't be
Yeah.
upset about it. That's how it works.
Yeah.
If I
Yeah.
have a
Yeah.
choice between giving the job to my kid or you know what I'm saying? It's like, of course I'm going to choose. I want to work with my friends. So
Yeah.
why wouldn't I?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I just love when the circle is complete, though. When you have those people who go in there and they own it, they get- they take advantage of the connection. Not take advantage, but they utilize the connection, and but then they get in there and they can deliver, and they don't try to distance themselves from the real history. Like Lucas Nelson. Willie Nelson's son. I remember hearing him on a couple of interviews, and I was like, I like this cat, man. He's like, I'm here because of my dad. I mean, I got to bring it, and I love what I do, and I want to, I want to run this thing in, but he never shied away from it. Didn't. He's like, my dad is Willie Nelson. People know my dad. People love my dad. People will listen to me, but I'm my own man and I got to bring it. But I'm
Right.
thankful for my dad for everything he did for me and for what he did for us. I was just like, wow. And so you just want to be that person, man, who just, but yeah, there's, I was going to tell you about another little one of those. But yeah, there was all. I remember one time, same thing, very similar to that story with Marla Garland, where the casting director just loved what I did. The people, it went great, da da da, and you're feeling it. Again, you're already seeing yourself on set. I'm in. And it was what's his name? Chris. Uh, Something about Mary. Yeah, Chris. You know,
Christopher Guest?
no, no,
No,
no. Something
no.
about the blonde. I cannot believe I can't think of his last name. Used to be on Letterman all the time.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
I can't believe I'm blanking on his name. But you know what I'm talking about.
Chris Elliott.
Yeah, Chris Elliott. Thank you, thank you. And then the casting director was like, "Oh yeah, no, it's Chris Elliott." They just wanted him, and so no matter how well you do, um, another thing I was close to, just because you asked, and it's kind of interesting. I did a pilot called "Keep It Together," and it was Kevin Hart's pilot,
Okay.
and it was based on his life. And Rami Malcolm, from 40-Year-Old Version. Everybody
Right.
forever, he's gonna be the black dude from 40-Year-Old Version. The brother from 40-Year-Old Version. Rami Malcolm. Anyway, really nice guy. He played the Kevin Hart part in the story, and then Kevin Hart played his own best friend. You get what I'm saying? So, because he wasn't going to be on the show all the time, you know. He had so much other stuff going on. He was going to be involved, and I think the network really wanted him. Like, no, Kevin, we want you. We don't want you popping in here and there. But I did that pilot. I played one of the neighbors in that pilot, and they loved it. They were like, no, this one's going. This one's a done deal, baby. I'm not saying you should buy a house, Clint Jackson, but go on out there and look. And that year, in the 11th hour, a little show called Blackish stepped up and said, you know what? We'd like to be on instead.
And that's it.
And that was it. And Blackish bought a lot of houses.
I'm looking at your recent credits. It says you did warm up for a show, and as soon as I saw that, I'm like, now why aren't you doing that all the time? Because that's good bread, and that's a perfect fit for you. They give you a few things to say, but then it's generally just keep the crowd entertained. My understanding is that it's a pretty good gig. No,
Yeah, it is. I mean, I liked it when I did it, and I just never pursued it anymore. It's hard to get, and it is a high intensity thing. My show that I did warm up for, small audience, like 30 people maybe. And it was later. It used to be that Bob Costas show, and then Cynthia something, she used to host it. And so it was a small little audience there. And so that was doable for me. But I've seen those guys working that stuff, and the music is just pumping, and they got you do a certain kind of comedy for
I know, but
that.
you could bring it. You could match your energy. You could figure out how to make it your own and not be like, all right, let's give away some T-shirts, guys. Like you don't have to be that guy, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, yeah, you're right. I just never pursued it, and that one that I had fell into my lap because I knew a guy who used to do it, and I was filling in for him sometimes. And then when he moved on to other stuff, he willed it to me, and so I just stepped in, and it just worked out. But I just never pursued it though. But I enjoyed it, man. Getting to see like the people come on and behind the scenes, and you get to see who's nice, who's not so nice, and
Right.
who's great with the audience. All the country singers were the best people, the best, most connected with the audience. Like in between, commercial time and stuff, and they'd hang out after the show and stuff. Just across the board, country artists were the best. Um, but yeah, so I mean, I enjoyed that, but and maybe there was something more to it that could have been. But I did play a guy. I did that show. I played an audience warm up guy on that show, Fresh Off the Boat.
See, that's what I thought you did when I just saw that credit. I thought, oh, but you actually played
Yeah,
a warm up guy. Okay, I thought you were
yeah,
the warm up guy.
yeah. So I played that, and that was a lot of fun. Um, yeah, so I got to just kind of do that thing and have the people looking at me, and it was even just that doing that one scene in that one sitcom just made me realize, yeah, this is a hard job. This warm up guy, because people were just like, yeah. And that was part of it. Was like, okay, this corny guy, we're all sitting in here, we're tired, this ain't cute no more, and because those tapings go on forever.
Yeah,
But
I remember. So I remember. I'll tell you a funny LA story. This guy named Roy. What's his name? What's Roy's last name? Kind of a fat dude. Forget his, he wouldn't mind me saying that about him. He was a comic I knew. He was a New Hampshire comic, and I moved out to LA, and he was the warm up guy for Craig Kilborn when the Craig
yeah,
Kilborn show was
yeah,
still happening.
yeah,
And I went in, and you go in with him, and I watched him do the warm up, and then we did the show. And then after the show, it was CBS, and so he took me into the CBS studios, and he was like, "Hey, you want to see the big wheel from Price is Right?" And like we went backstage, and like I got to see that, right?
yeah.
And some other stuff. And I had just moved to LA. I feel like that was probably 99, 2000. And I was like, "Oh, this is so cool." Roy, what the fuck's your last name, Roy? I can't think of it. No, Chuck Roy. Chuck Roy, that was his name. Chuck
Oh
Roy.
yeah, yeah, I know Chuck.
Do you really?
Yeah. Wait, the
He's a white
the
dude.
ball guy?
He's fat. He's kind of fat. Chuck Roy.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm thinking of a different guy. Yeah, but no, I do know Chuck Roy. I don't know him, but I've
You
met
might
him.
have done a gig with him.
Yeah, maybe Comics Unleashed or something like that.
Right.
So, like
Um,
we've all done that together. It's a fraternity of people who've done
Comics Unleashed on
Yeah.
on BET.
No,
I feel like
that was Comic View. Comics Unleashed is Byron Allen's show. Where
Oh,
you're
and Byron
sitting
pretends to ask you a question about a joke you do.
Yeah.
Byron Allen, a gazillionaire.
Byron Allen, yeah. Byron, he's got no shortage of chips, man. That dude, yeah, I did his sitcom too. You know, what's funny about I did his show, and they crank these shows out, right? They just move them. They do because I booked the show, and then we did the table read like the next day, and then they were like, okay, tomorrow when we shoot. I was like, tomorrow? What about the week of rehearsal?
Right.
We're table reading this today.
Right.
You sit around. We've all seen it, right? The big table. We're sitting
Right.
around, and then you do that, and then they tinker with it all week, and you rehearse. Not on that show. Not on that show. You read it at the table and shoot it the next day. I was like, how is this possible? When my agent told me, I was like, there's a mistake. It says we're shooting this tomorrow. They're like, no, you're shooting this tomorrow.
That's like, what's his name? Who's the super famous black guy that can't?
Perry.
Tyler Perry, whose studio is not very far from here.
Yeah.
By the way, you could look it up on the map. I live very close to Tyler Perry Studios. That motherfucker, they shoot 100 episodes in like 3 weeks. They're just like,
Yep.
let's go.
That's how it happens, man. That's how it happens. And so I got to see that up close, where you're holding the script up behind the person you're talking to. I don't know how they pull it off because I didn't have a big role. I mean, I had one or two scenes, whatever. It wasn't, I was a guest star on the show. And it was funny because I played a postal worker who was a friend of the first lady's sister. It's because the first lady's sister lived with him in the White House. It was Jack Hay. Jack Hay played the first lady's sister.
227.
Yes. And so I played one of her friends that came to visit her while she was in the White House. And we was like, ooh, you girl, you done moved up. You in the White House. And we worked together. The backstory was that we worked together like in...
When you go in for these roles, do you ask them that? Do you go, hey, how ridiculous black guy would you like me to be? What level of Sambo do I need to be for this one? Oh, girl. You in the white. Oh.
Man, that was just me talking. That
This is
was
a fancy silverware. Oh,
that
massa.
that was just me just talking it right. That right there. It wasn't that. I mean, I was just giving you. I was just playing for the to the back row right there. Me and you, okay? Because
Okay.
that's how me and you do. You know what I mean? When we commit, we commit.
We do commit.
Right? That's what I love about us. So, but no, but so we were, we were those friends, though. But here's the kicker, Matt. Follow me. So we knew her. We worked together with her in a story. Um, like let's say Atlanta. It was somewhere that's far away from Washington D.C. Right? And we're her friends visiting her in the White House, and we're sitting there playing cards. As the scene, we're wearing our post office uniforms. We worked at the post office, and it was like, why would we be wearing our post office uniforms at the White House? We got off work and just hopped on a plane and came right to the White House, and now we're just playing cards in the kitchen of the White House. And then somebody brought it up. They were like, "Hey, these friends that are visiting from out of town, who she knows from a prior life, why are they in there?" And it just stopped the whole production for about 24 seconds
And then they
before
go,
they
who
went,
cares?
"That's all right, doesn't
That's all
matter.
right.
Let's
Just
go.
shoot it.
Let's go." Didn't the wardrobe is too far for us to walk over there to try to get something else. The uniform sells the idea. Let's just go. And that's what happens when you're shooting 100 episodes in 4 days.
Right. So the most recent credit that I saw on there was a little show called the Night Court reboot,
Yep.
because they just reboot everything.
Yep.
And so at this stage of your life, you're whatever, you're 106 years old, and your agent calls you and says, "Do you want to read for this?" And you say, "Yes, I'm in town. I'm not doing Tough Mudder Whistler this weekend or Pittsburgh
Yeah.
or wherever they send
Mm-hmm.
you." So is it just like they're not giving you a lot to work with, I'm guessing, right? For a 1 day thing. Is it just I know that I'm funny when I read these lines, or do you try to think like, how can I bring something extra? Like what do you do for like this most recent that's the most recent thing I saw in there.
Yeah. You just try to get the joke. You try to get what they're going for.
So what's the joke at Night Court? Can you I know you can remember it. It wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, yeah. So it was because apparently they set it up in the other scene where it was like he comes in and he talks about these women or something like that. The guy who's the star of the show, and almost like it was almost like they weren't real, or he couldn't land them. You know what I mean? And then he comes to the restaurant, and I'm familiar with him, and and it was like something like if you if you have a good story or something, you get a free bowl of soup or something like that. And so he comes in, and I see that he's with this woman, and she's an attractive woman. It's Melissa Rauch, the star of the show, and a wonderful woman. I'll get back to that. But they walk in, and then I go, "Oh, Mr. So and so. She showed up this time. Now, good to see you again." And I look at her and go, "She showed up this time." And then he says something, and then he goes, "Oh no, this is my coworker." And then I go, "Ah, that makes sense. I'll go get your soup." And I saw, so that was the joke. Was like, "Oh, of course, you're still not doing well here with the ladies, and I'll go get your soup."
Right.
Was the line, and I just played it with just the right. I just saw it that it's like, "Oh, that makes sense. I'll go get your soup." And that
Right.
was the way I played it. And they loved it. And even when I got on set, Melissa Rauch was like, "Oh, I saw your audition, and you just got it. You just nailed the joke. You made it even more of a joke than we saw it on
But but
paper." You
but I'm trying to explain to people, like, you walk in, was this digital, or do you do it live in person? Because I know a lot of times they're
That
not even.
one, no. Ever since COVID, I don't, man. I don't. I haven't been in on an audition. Everything I've booked is and everything I've done has been right here in my house, man.
See, I feel like that's so much harder to get the fucking job. So you just have like your wife read you the line?
Yeah, yeah. And my wife is really good. She coaches me. She's really, really good. Darlene is good. It's like, I mean, I've been since I told you I hadn't been an acting coach before I got that Nick Freno job, but I've been since, and I, to a little bit. And she just instinctually is as good as anybody I've seen, like with what she picks up. And So we do it together. So it's good for us. So even if I don't get the gig, what we share and working on it together is worth the doing, man.
Right.
So yeah, so she's really good. So yeah, we just do it here at home, and yeah, and I've gotten better at it, of understanding how to do that stuff because it's like you're at home. The temptation could be like do it 1,000 times. And you're like, nah, just get it good and and it reads when there's something about it that's good and it's solid but not overly wrought, you know what I mean, overly polished and stuff, because I think that kind of probably reads when they get the tape like, okay, this is probably take 157, and so you can work your way around that. But I do enjoy it. The only thing is that you don't get direction. Like
Right.
you just have to bring everything when you do it at home. You don't know what they want in the room. A lot of the times they've seen people do it and they'll say like, can you get us this? Or they see what they don't like and they try to subtract that from the performances in the room, where they'll go, you know what, let's, because everybody's playing it whatever, too angry or too whatever, and they say, you know what, let's bring it down to this. And so you get that direction. So you kind of miss that. So it's all on you when you're just at home. I mean, whatever they give you. Hey, Matt, can I break some news for you?
Absolutely.
Can I break some news? Can I give you the poop?
I'm
Can I
ready.
drop a release on you?
I'm
I
ready.
just booked a new role too. Just the other day, the show Hacks with Gene Smart on Max.
Nice.
Hacks on Max. Yeah, I just booked a role on that, and nobody knows it, but you.
Congratulations.
Thank
So
you, buddy.
that'll air what, like next spring
Uh, I have no idea. That stuff is stuff that's beyond me. But I'll shoot it on the 5th
of
of
December?
December.
Okay.
And
And you have to go down to LA for this, I'm guessing.
that's, yeah, it's right here. It's Universal Studios. I just went over yesterday for the wardrobe fitting, and yeah, so I'll do it on
But
the
you're in
5th.
Oakland now still, right?
No, I'm in LA.
You are in LA.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, this whole time I thought you're in the Bay Area. What give me your cross streets. I'll tell you how close I used to live to there. Go ahead.
uh Roscoe and White Oak in Reseda. So not LA proper, but I'm in the San Fernando Valley.
I know it's a long day living in
Living in
Reseda.
Reseda.
There's a freeway running through the yard, and I'm a bad boy.
Yeah, free falling, buddy. Free falling.
Okay,
Good
so you
enough
just
for
drop
Tom
down.
Petty.
You just
Good
drop
enough for
down
me.
drop down to the studio and bing bang boom.
Yeah, yeah. It's a 20-minute
See,
20-minute drive in the middle of the night, or 3 hours with traffic.
right, and I know that obviously they can see way more tape if they don't see people in person, but I feel like I would want to see the people in person, get that feel in the room, being able to give direction. I feel like it's a
Yeah.
shame that they don't do that. And again, I get
Well,
you can watch 100 tapes, but maybe watch the 100, then bring in 10.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, well, I mean, all of these recent parts have not been big parts. They've been what they call 5 and under. So they're co-stars.
5 lines and under. Is that what that
Yeah,
means?
yeah, yeah, yeah. So when you hear co-star, that means 5 and under. And a lot of time, a fun little thing to do is a lot of times when you see people with the bit parts and you watch them, you count their lines. They say 5 things and then they shut up.
Right.
Even if there's more information, there's more scene going on, they're just like, I can only say those 5 things.
Right. Or sometimes it's a scene and there's like 6 extras, but then the one extra gets the one line, right?
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, lucky dude, he got the one thing.
That's big in that world, that extra world.
Oh,
about being able
sure.
to get that bump up, because they're there, and those people are so good at that job, being background, being atmosphere, they call it. Because if you watch any show and watch how good they are, they make that banner look so real because they're not talking. There's no audio coming out, and they make it look like they're having a real conversation, and they're
Right.
good at it. It's a real skill, and a
Right.
lot of those people are nuts.
Yeah. I've done a couple. I've been background for a couple things.
Oh, yeah.
Also, when I was in LA, I tried to get on a bunch of game shows, and I'm really disappointed because I never made any of them. And I got real close a couple times, and I was really disappointed. Do you remember the show Greed?
Yeah.
So Greed had a show and they did like a special 70s trivia version. And I'm like, I'm gonna crush this. The lady called, she asked me a bunch of questions. I got them all right. She's like, come on down. And then I got to, there was like, we're shooting, and then the next group of 5 is like on deck. And I was like, on deck. And then it's like, you know, they shot however many of them, 6 or 8 or whatever it was. I didn't get it. And there's a bunch of Weakest Link, I think I was almost on. There's a bunch of fucking game shows that I was like, man, this could be fun, right? Never happened for me.
Wow.
I was on Blind Date, Clinton. People can search and find that somewhere.
I'd
When I
love
first
to
moved,
see that.
when I first moved to LA, my friend who's a stand-up comic said they want guys that know how to talk. Like, go down there and do it. And I did it, and I got and it was really bad. It was really cheesy. And I think I got paid $100. Like, here you go. Here's your $100.
Yeah. Nice round number. Nice.
Do you want to hear how broke I was in LA, Clinton?
Say.
You're supposed to say,
how broke were you?
I was so broke that like my check, I had like overdrawn too long in like Wells Fargo, so I couldn't have a Wells Fargo account anymore. And I got paid, like my account just went negative and I couldn't, they're like, give us $600 before we turn your account back on. That I had a job with a temp company, and it was US Bank. And this is before you could just take the picture and put it on your phone, right?
Yeah,
US Bank. And the only US Bank was like in not Reseda, but way the fuck out. So I had to drive all the way there just to cash my check. It's really dating us. Cash the physical check and then have money to walk around in, right? And then buy money orders to pay my fucking mortgage. That's some LA broke ass story for you.
Wow. Yeah, I feel you, man. Those LA stories. This isn't as deep or as dramatic, but it's like I was auditioning for some kind of game show comic thing. I don't even remember what it was. And I went down to the Laugh Factory, and they weren't even letting everybody into the building. You had to wait outside, and then they brought you in to do the audition like upstairs. There was no reason we couldn't have been more comfortable, but they had us outside. And one of those tour buses with no top on it. You know what I mean? The tourists sit in and they take you around Hollywood. That pulled up, and the guy's on his little microphone. He's like, "This is a world famous Laugh Factory right here. You know some of the names of people who came out of here. You'll see the faces on this outside: Robin Williams or Keenan Ivory Thomas. You know all of this." And he rattles off some people, and he goes, "And this is where it all starts." And we see these people lined up right here because this is where it all starts, at the bottom. And then he just pulls away.
At
And I'm
the
like,
bottom?
at the bottom? I've been on TV. I'm not at the bottom. I've clawed my way to the middle
Exactly.
of the bottom.
Did you read for Jamie?
Jamie
Masada was
no. He was just hosting the audition. This wasn't a part of his thing. It was an audition for something else that they were just having at the Laugh Factory. And but yeah, I played there before.
Did you read for Mitzi back in the day?
No, I've never played the the Comedy Store.
Right.
No.
What about Bud? Did you ever meet Bud?
Yeah. Bud was nice to me. He was very nice to me back in the day. He knew my manager, and he was always kind to me, wearing his monocle. And he would see my manager, and he'd go, "Laurie," like the penguin, "Laurie."
So these days, Clinton Jackson, what are you up to? They just reduced the Tough Mudder calendar. I think there's 4 events next year. So what are we going to be?
They added one.
Wait, which one?
No, you said 4, and I said, they added
one. So
as
are you doing?
There were 3.
Are you doing the stand up? Are you doing the boats like your friend Sean? What are you doing these days?
Yeah. We're doing the ships. We just got off of doing one together down in Caribbean and down Mexico way, and so I'm still going to be doing the ships and whatever auditions come up, and still there's always the hope of landing that big thing. But yeah, I'm doing all the Tough Mudders according to what I've been told. I'm on board for everything, and it's a lighter schedule, true, but we just want to make the most of it. And it's Yeah, so that's where everything is. And like I said, just keep auditioning and trying to land the next acting, do the ships, and that's pretty well. And then got to be at home. So Matt, oh buddy, oh it's so hard to leave home after a certain age. You just want to be at home, Matt. I just want to be at home with my wife and my dog, and
My
yeah.
wife, Camille.
My wife. She came down the stairs. Her face was split.
Bobby Fabus.
Baby, baby.
Yeah,
You know,
dude.
my favorite, by the way, was to Russell, the brother with whom I slept.
Yeah.
That to me is the single greatest comedy bit ever
Yeah, go.
performed.
I know it's not cool to like Cosby anymore, but I'm telling you, man. Like that album Revenge, I mean, I could say it changed my life. And again, it's
Yeah,
like who knows how or why or where. Like I mean, just, he's talking about this game called Buck Buck, which I've never heard of,
yeah,
which I still couldn't visualize for like, age whatever until I think I was an adult. I was like, they're jumping on each other's back. Like,
yeah.
what are they talking? There's 73 of us up there going, hey, oh, hey, oh. You know what I mean? Like, I just this whole world that he created that made me want to be a part of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Exactly. It was so inviting and just so uh, uh, a wonderland of thoughts and imagery and characters, and just it was just all there. And again, I think we don't need to keep saying it, but it's not. We're talking about a different time, and we're talking about a body of work,
Yes.
not uh, contemporary
Yeah, it's like,
circumstances.
am I never gonna watch Goodwill Hunting again because it was produced by fucking Weinstein? You know what I mean? It's like,
Exactly.
right? What are you gonna do? Um,
Exactly.
um, but did you watch that? It's time we talk about Cosby. Did you watch that documentary?
Uh,
Kamal
I think I
Kamal
did. I
made
think I
it.
did.
Kamal Bell. Kamal. How do you say it?
Yeah, yeah,
Kamal.
Kamal. Yeah,
I mean,
I
it
know Kamal
is.
from the Bay Area. Good dude.
Yeah, but it is just
Yeah,
fascinating
yeah, 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 yeah. I did watch it.
because,
Yeah,
like, we all know that as long as there's men with power, there will be some who abuse it. I mean, women too, but mostly men. Like, oh, cool, I can now
oh
get my
yeah,
way with women because of this
yeah,
power of money or influence. But the to me, I know this is a random ass subject that we probably shouldn't talk about, but I don't care. The idea of I want to do this other thing because he could probably get him anyway, right? Most famous man in America for a long time, right? One of the most famous,
hmm,
right? I mean,
yeah,
like fucking, apple pie, Bill Cosby, like just, and like, oh, I think I'm going to do this other thing where I actually like the psychology behind that is just so fucking
yeah,
bizarre to me.
yeah. It is crazy, and it's out there, and we keep. I mean, there's stories currently that we hear, and people who were involved. And you know what? Speaking of back to Nick Freno days, that was 96, 96, 97 when I did that. There was an actress that I worked with who's fairly well known, and back then she was just getting her start, just like me. She'd done a little bit more than me, but she told me about Cosby back then. I'm
Really?
not kidding you. She didn't go into it, and I didn't want to hear it because I just remember she goes, "He's not what you think,"
Mm,
and I was like, "What?" See, people in showbiz, a lot of stuff people know, and it doesn't get around fully. But yeah, she told me about that, and a couple other people, and I was just like, "Whoa." And the Cosby, I just couldn't even hear it. I didn't even, you know what I mean? I
yeah.
was angry that she would say something like that at the time. And then there was other people that she talked about, like as a young actress in Hollywood, just starting out, people she had met with. And there's some people that, I don't want to, but
Yeah, it's
names that
okay.
you've heard, but it was back then. And I was like, really? And she was like, yes. And she told me about, she met with this one actor who kind of got caught up in all this stuff. And he's like, oh yeah, he locked the door. Took me in the room and he made me cry. She said I was shaking and everything because he says, I sleep with my co-stars and stuff. And yeah, and she was just like, uncomfortable. She left and she said it wrecked her. Even though nothing happened, just the
Right.
idea, the power dynamic, and the fact that, oh, here, I'm trying to get a career going,
Right.
and this is what it is.
But yeah, you were talking about the travel, and I'm okay for the most part. But when it's 2 in a row is when it really fucks me up. To like
Yeah,
do the thing, come back Monday, and then if you leave 2 days later, and then it's like, oh man, I'm just, you know what I mean? I mean, and my kids are still crazy enough that I like the having the hotel room to myself. That's a nice break. But
yeah,
yeah, but travel and it just costs, like you think, oh, I'm only spending this much on this trip because the hotel is being paid for or whatever. But then it's like the fucking food at the airport and the Uber back and forth, and it adds up, dude.
yeah. It all really takes such a toll on you when you're just a zombie, just walking through the airport, just like trying to keep yourself together, and you're just like, oh, look at that! I've never wanted a Cinnabon so bad in my life. I'm starving. You're like, you're not starving. It's 5 in the morning. You'd normally be asleep right now.
Right.
How
How
do you
many
think
days
you're
does it
doing?
take you to get back after World's Toughest after staying up for most of that time? How does it take you a couple days to get back to normal?
Like 2 months.
Shut up. Come on
No,
now.
no, a couple of days to really, because we stay up the whole time. Sean and I commit to it. That was his doing. He started that.
Motherfucker.
And but you know what, Matt, is even though I tell myself, I'm like, if I get tired, I'm getting older. I can't pull this off the same. If I need to jump into the car and grab a few Z's, I'm doing it. Right. But then when you're out there with those people and you look in their faces and you feel them just draped in your arms, and you're just like, I I'm rooted to the spot. I gotta, I just, yeah, I'm in. You know, that's the magic of being with those people doing that thing. Just
So
can't look away.
what do you got? So you doing anything the rest of this year?
From now on, it's just family time until the 28th. I go back out on a cruise. I accepted that. I was like, I didn't really want to go out for New Year's. I don't like being away when my wife has time off. Um, we did lose a gig with with Tough Money, the LA thing got canceled. But I got to make up that money. So I was like, yeah, I'll do it. And so
Let's
yeah,
look at the
so I'm gonna be
calendar.
away.
Let's look at the 2025 calendar for tough. Now, first of all, so I know that they moved Worlds to England, which
Yeah,
I'm mixed feelings about because I'm happy. A lot of people over there have wanted to do it. Blah blah blah.
yeah, yeah. Happy for them. Sure.
Um, but obviously, it's going to affect a lot of folks. And I said, listen, I'm sure you have. Um, I'm sure you have a lot of good people over there, but I would hope you bring like some of the magic from America from World's Toughest. And she, very nice lady Kate, was like, yeah, we're not sure yet exactly, but I think we'll probably get hopefully at least one of you. At least probably, I don't know if they're going to bring both of you, but I think they're smart enough to know that like you can't just uproot the whole thing. You got to bring some of the magic.
Yeah, yeah. I haven't heard anything, and yeah, and I'm fine either way because we do have an event in the states that weekend, and
Oh, we do?
yeah, yeah,
Oh, see, I
right,
didn't even see that. Oh,
yeah.
well, see, well, that's okay. So here we go. Austin, March 1st and 2nd. Okay. LA, April 5th and 6th. Atlanta, that's right here, right? And we actually get a toughest for that. So that'll be fun. I'll see you that
Hmm.
night. I'll see you that
Hmm.
night. Philly,
Yeah.
Michigan, Twin Cities, Indiana, Chicago, Big Bear, Toronto, Colorado, Nashville. They'll probably add one more. They'll probably add a November, Florida, right? It's not
Mm,
on there yet, but probably, right?
yeah, maybe I haven't heard anything,
But
but
they
I'll
have you
keep
at
my
all
ear.
these?
Yeah. So yeah, I got the whole boat, man. Yeah. So
Do they put you on a bus? Do they just send you around the country to save money?
Man, now we just fly out. But me and Sean used to talk about back in the old days when we had more events and stuff. Like, how great would it be to be just out in a van, just driving from event to event and visiting all of our people? Because we know people everywhere. Just get to visit people on their own home turf and stuff, and then just hang out, solving crimes or committing crimes. Either
Sure,
way,
one of those two.
yeah, getting away with it if it wasn't for some meddling kids. But yeah, that would be awesome, wouldn't it be? Just driving around from event to event.
All right, well,
Yeah.
tell people. Oh, Jesus Christ. I didn't mean to open this email, and I just opened this email. I didn't mean to because it just totally distracted me.
That's all right.
Listen, I'll cut that part out and say, Clinton, where can people find you on social media or the web?
ClintonJackson.com goes to everything. Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
buddy.
ClintonJackson.com. One of the last websites on the web. Everybody, websites are going away, but I got one.